You own a business. Are you looking to hide yourself, right? Be privacy. Make sure your trust own your company. This company owns this company, so nobody knows who you are, and you can get away with the stuff you want to get away with. You want to stay tuned to this video. Have you ever wondered what's the difference of working on your business versus in your business?
How some banks and people were instrumental in the development and the founding of our banking system.
On today's episode of Tax Tip, we getting down and dirty.
I want to start a business. I want financial freedom.
Do you have a business and you have children to employ?
Women should do this and men should do that.
Do you know the benefits of an S corporation? We're going to talk to you about the mistakes you need to avoid before starting your LLC. What's going on, y'all? It's another episode of Minding Your Biz. I'm Dr. BlackWealth, one of your co-hosts, and we got...
It's your girl, Miss Fabfinancial on the ones and twos. It's like, no, I just felt.
What's up, y'all? So we talking about trust today. You want to set up your trust to own your management company, to own your business, and to own this and that, right? And so we're going to talk about that, right? So the first thing that I'm going to automatically out the gate say is, the first thing I'm going to automatically say out the gate is I get people all the time who come to me and say, listen, I just watched this video. I just seen somebody say this, and I want to have the trust to own this and this to own that. I don't want nobody to know this, the Nevada, the Wyoming, and this, that, and the third. And the first thing I like to ask is what business do you doing?
And how much money does it make? And it's usually under 50,000. It's usually not quite a lot. It's like I'm pessimistic.
When we come to trust, right, like it's not that I have a problem with it, right? Because I know how to use it and I know why you should have it, this, that, and the third. But it's a lot of people out there that's overhyping it up for a reason that you just don't really need it right now, right?
Just basic. The trust is a way to pass assets. That's one way to pass assets when you die. It's a way to keep assets keep the government out of your business, right? It's like a shield to say, whatever I have, the possessions, whatever I own, I want to pass it down. That's one way to my friend or my family, my children's children, my wife, without everyone in my business, right? And another way is through a little bit of anonymity, right? Operating in a way that, especially depending on how much money you have, if you're high profile, that everyone doesn't know what's happening behind the gate, so to speak. But you do need to have stuff behind the gate, right? And so I think people kind of really jump the ship with the trust and the entity layering because there's nothing behind the gate. And then they start to set up all this stuff and then they're not liquid. They don't have any cash. They're not paying themselves. And then it turns into a big clusterfuck. You know what I mean? Like, you need to have assets first.
This is a PG-13.
You need to have some assets
this is a PG-13
to put in the trust
program
to have behind the gate. So that's
children are watching you.
Or get some life insurance. Get something. We need to have the conversation.
The Harry Potter program
about getting the assets and the things.
So let's do it. So 4 phases of trust.
Put in the trust.
4 phases of trust that we came up with, right? So the first phase is income generation.
Yes.
We need to make some money. The first thing you need to figure out is how to make money. I don't care what, well, let me not say it that way. Whatever it is that you're skilled at or whatever it is that you want to do to produce income, you need to figure out that thing and make the money, right? That's the first phase of it.
God has given us all that thing. We've talked about it.
The skills.
We've talked about it. We got a gift, tap into that and sell that thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So before I go to the next phase, right? One way I can say, hey, if you're not a person who's generating a significant amount of money, meaning either employed or self-employed, it's good to have a trust if you do have a life insurance policy. I am a huge proponent of that. Get a life insurance policy no matter who you are. If you got a family, if you don't have kids, whatever that looks like, have a life insurance policy and make sure that the beneficiary of the policy goes to a trust.
I agree with that on a basic level.
So
I don't care if you get a life insurance policy for $10,000 for burial. Don't leave your mess to the people behind you.
For sure.
I agree. We're on the same track.
Phase 2 of a trust is asset accumulation. So here's how this is in phases. Phase 1, we have generated income. Let's say I started working and we figured it out. We're generating income of north of $1 million a year.
Oh, Lord.
Now
you talking to the top 1%.
Right. You need
the
to start
0.5%.
Well,
we got to come down to the.
No, get there. No, get there.
No,
get there. We down here, but get there, right? So you got to
$1 million. That's
get
like
there.
0.5%. Not even like the 6-figure people. You done went past the 6-figure.
Even $500,000, you need to get there.
Okay.
Get there.
All right.
Everybody goal should be $1 million. That's how I'm going to leave it, period.
But wherever you are today, get life insurance and you could put that in the trust.
Right, but we just talking about trust accumulation for business owners, right? I already said if you got life insurance policy, you get to put it in the trust.
Okay, but
so
let's stick
asset
with the
accumulation, right, is phase 2. This is you acquiring assets, but you can't acquire assets until after you have generated income. So this means that, hey, my company made money or we made money, however you made money, and now we start to buy things, real estate, stocks, right, other businesses. Those are assets that we're purchasing and acquiring, right? So some say like get your assets up, right? To, so here's why a $1 million number is there. Because if you ain't making that, then don't be worried about putting trust and this and that unless we already established that you got a life insurance policy.
Okay, so I got you, but I do see it as slightly different. If I am a W-2 executive, not top executive, right? I just maybe even high level management, and I make $120,000 a year. I can still have my life insurance, get my trust. Hopefully I have a home that I'm buying, that I own, that I'm renting. I could put that in my trust. Maybe I go into investing in real estate in the side. I can maybe put that in trust. Maybe I have some stocks, right? So on that level, middle of the road, I think you could do that as well. I don't necessarily think you have to be like a gazillionaire. Because I think
I'm not saying that.
There are average Americans who perish. Fortunately, their number is called every day, who do no estate, no planning for death.
Right.
And
So
then,
we get into like financial planning. So I'm not. It's not like an income level to get a trust, but I'm just going through different phases of what will be in the trust.
But I got you, because I know those people.
Right.
They come and they're I want to do all this and operate in the cloak of darkness, but don't have nothing to put in the darkness.
So rather you executive earner making $120,000 a year and you decide to invest in assets over time, real estate or whatever the case, you still want to you still want to accumulate assets. Anybody can accumulate assets as long as you can accumulate the assets. You got to have income to do it.
That's a fact.
Then the third phase will be the asset organization. This is probably where we would really start to set up the trust, to where the trust will own the real estate company, because we've accumulated so many real estate assets or syndicate deals or stocks, bonds, treasuries, or other businesses. Right. And so now your assets is accumulating over time. And so I'm going to put a pause here in the asset organization, right? Because at a basic level of a trust is contract law. That's why you need to go to, if a lawyer is not setting it up, you don't need to be trying to get a trust and it's on such and such LLC trust.com. Go to a lawyer to set them up, right? Because it's contract law. It states that between me and the things that I put in this document that are assets to me will be transferred to a beneficiary. The reason why we want asset protection is because you have accumulated so many assets. Now we might be 201 over here
that you want to protect.
Side. It's risk mitigation.
Yeah, man.
If I go outside and I get hit or I hit somebody,
that's right,
people can't come after my things because they're locked up inside of a trust because we accumulated so many assets, right? And so that's kind of really the basics of it, right?
And for just side note,
you got to have something to protect.
No, for sure. My husband was in an accident a couple years ago in his Lamborghini, totaled the car. The person he hit. We definitely
not talking about basic people.
Okay. So, but listen.
Somebody
Linda.
Toyota Corolla.
Listen, Linda. Totaled the car, right? But the person who hit him said, "Oh, it's a Lamborghini.
Right.
I'm gonna try to go for broke."
Right.
They tried to sue us civilly to take our home.
For sure.
Right? They wanted to go outside of the insurance coverage, right? But State Farm said, no, not today. We're not doing that. But our home at the time, was in a trust. They were looking, searching, trying to sue us. They brought charges, tried to sue us civilly, and it didn't work. So that is helpful even in that basic regard, that it does help with coverage and having a little anonymity over the assets you have. So something as simple as a car accident, you might not be thinking, well, at the time we only had one home. You know what I mean? But sometimes, the fact is that we did have an asset, so you want to try to protect what you have, because people will try to come after you for, especially as a business owner as well, right? And so the more things you start to accumulate, the more wealth you have, the more exposure you don't want to have, right? So you want to limit the exposure.
For sure. And on a basic level, even if we're not talking about somebody who's making, even if we're not talking about a business owner, if we talking professionals, that's why, like, if you are a doctor, a lawyer, that liability coverage, that liability protection, insurance, all that stuff is expensive. Or, I don't want to use the word expensive, but it's a cost to it, right? But it's different levels to asset protection, which we're not going to get into in this video. The last thing of it is estate planning. Most people just don't estate plan, right? And so when you have to think about it, the IRS gives us a huge amount of money that we can pass over in our lifetime. So if you accumulate it over, I really want to say it's about anywhere between 11 and 25 million, right? And if I pass down the estate, now I have to do planning so that my children or my heirs won't be paying estate taxes or pay minimum estate taxes as possible, right? And so that's the last phase of it, right? And so
I want to say it was they just increased it. I think Donald Trump in terms of increasing the inheritance,
right?
It's something huge.
It's a huge number.
I want to say it was almost like 10 million. I mean, it was a large amount.
No, it's got to be over that, because I think that So and because so I got a older like mentor of mine, and he's like, listen, I don't like life insurance. He was like, he makes some good money investing and stuff like that, and he give his kids like money every year. Every year he cut him a check while he's alive, right? And so over time, it's just you have a lifetime limit amount of money that you can give somebody before they start to pay inheritance tax. So that's part of your estate planning that you want to just kind of look into. It might be a little bit over than basic, but it is what it is. So everybody here's the last thing, I'll go down a quick little tangent I developed, right? So everybody look at it like, we want to be like the Rockefellers and this, that, and the third. But we want to do the Rockefeller planning without having the Rockefeller money. And when you really study Rockefeller, what Rockefeller did was, Rockefeller was poor. He worked. He was a poor man in New York. I really want to say Brooklyn, right? Once he got into the oil business, he developed the business. He started making money in the oil industry to where he was one of the wealthiest people in America. From that, he started making so much money, it became a full-time job to just protect the money on as amount of assets he accumulated, banks, ownership, other businesses, other things like that, which started the Rockefeller Foundation, which is the founder of the Chicago University School that's in Chicago, our Board of Education system that we have today, right? These are the things that philanthropists do with overwhelming amount of money, because now it's a full-time job to manage the money that we did. But catch what I said. He accumulated the wealth, accumulated the money, industry empire, right? Not to say that we can't do that.
And the trust was basically the directions for his children's children.
We phase
to follow
3.
the direction.
We in phase 3 and phase 4,
yeah.
right? Because one of his son was just over their trust. He just was the head of their foundation, right? So these are things that we have to consider when we deal with trust.
And even when you think about that, and so if you were able to accumulate a certain amount of wealth and a certain amount of financial literacy, right, and to pass that down, you can do it in the form of a trust to help your heirs not squander the money that you've accumulated. And so that's the problem when they say, hey, by the 3rd generation, most people lose wealth. Well, because the directions are in the trust to hold your heirs and your children's children accountable to manage the wealth properly. And so the trust can also be an educational tool. Yes, it is to protect. It is to limit the amount of exposure you have. It is to cut on taxes, but it's also directives to help you maintain a certain amount of dominance that God wants us to have dominion, right? To keep it moving forward for your children's children. So,
no, I agree. There's a whole rabbit hole that we got to go down for that. So we'll do another video on trust. But let us know if you got any questions, comments, or concerns on our 4 phases. Don't beat me up if you ain't making a lot of money and you want to set up the trust. You can still wait. You can still pay the money to do it. We'll do the taxes on it and all that other stuff.
I'm just letting you know
what it is.
Put your granny house in the trust.
Don't forget to keep minding your biz, y'all. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see y'all in the next episode.
Do all of that. That's right.
Peace.